Hey, everybody. I'm so excited today to talk to you about motivation. This week, we're going to learn all about how to motivate people, but I'm going to break it up into two videos. The first video, I want to focus on others. How can you as a leader motivate people? And then the second video that I'm going to make is going to be on what's your plan in life and how can you motivate yourself by creating a plan for your life. All right. So stay tuned and watch them both. All right. Here we go. So our learning plan for this video, remember, we're focusing on other people and we're learning how can we motivate other people. But our learning plan today is, number one, we're going to talk about what is motivation. The second thing we're going to talk about is when are people most motivated, and then what are some habits of some motivated people. And then number four, what are some examples of how to motivate people? Some super practical examples. All right, so let's begin. What's motivation? All right, so there's many different definitions of motivation out there, but the one that I really like is the why. Right. Ultimately, what is someone's motive? What is someone's motivation? It's why a person does something. At the end of the day, it's their motive, it's their incentive, it's their rationale, it's their inspiration, it's their excitement. So that's what I want you to think about as we study motivation. It's the why behind why people do things. Okay. When are people most motivated? So I think of sporting events. All right. I think of basketball, like I'm a big basketball fan here, Lakers right here. I think of baseball, right? All sporting events. I see a lot of motivation in the players whenever I'm watching these sports in terms of wanting to win, right? So that's one thing I think about whenever I think about motivation. I was a cross-country runner. I was a cross-country coach for many years. And any single time you run, you're not alone. There's people right along the path, as you can see in this photo, that are just cheering you on all the way through. So there's a lot of motivation to do well in these races because there's so many people watching. So at the end of the day, here's three things that and that I first want to point out. And the reason why I wanted to point this out is because if we're trying to motivate other people, we have to understand why people are motivated. So number one, I believe that everyone is motivated when it matters and when it helps them achieve, right? So if they're going for a specific goal, if they are trying to achieve something, they're going to be motivated to do so because that's what they want to do. The second thing is during competition. All right. So whenever there's competition, if there's a goal, then they're going to do really well and they're going to be super motivated. I think it's about 12 years ago, Kobe Bryant scored 81 points in a game. I think it was like the second highest scoring person. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but he was pretty much up there, 81 points just by himself. Could he have done that if he wasn't in a competition? I don't think so. Could he have done that if the crowd wasn't going crazy around him? No, I don't think so. So a lot of those factors play whenever it comes to being motivated. And then number three, whenever it's in public, whenever someone knows that you're trying to achieve something or they're trying to cheer you on or they're trying to be a part of the process, I feel like people are super, super motivated. All right. So keep in mind these three things as we study how to motivate other people. There's many different types of motivation. There's actually two ones that are always talked about, intrinsic versus extrinsic. You probably have heard of them. Intrinsic motivation happens whenever someone is more concerned about their internal rewards. Is this enjoyable for them? Then they're going to do it. Is this interesting for them? Then they're going to do it. If someone has intrinsic motivation, then they're going to be so much more creative. Versus extrinsic. Extrinsic is a person who's motivated by external rewards, right? So, deadlines or even prizes or accolades. And it's been shown that people who are just extrinsically motivated are less creative because at the end of the day, they're not doing it for an internal reason. They're doing it for an external reason. Okay. Now, which one's better? Obviously the one on the left, right? I want you to have intrinsic motivation whenever you're doing things in life because why? It lasts longer. Every bit of research shows that. Now, why are you watching this video? And maybe that's a question to ask yourself, right? Are you watching it because you actually want to learn about motivation and learn about what I want to teach you? Or are you learning it just because you're a leader and you have to lead a discussion soon, right? At the end of the day. So is it wrong if you're feeling one or the other? Well, actually, let's answer this question. Can I be motivated by both? The answer is yes, right? I don't think any individual decision is exclusively intrinsic or extrinsic, but it could be a mix of both. Even me making this video. Obviously, the intrinsic reward for me is so much greater than the extrinsic. I'll be very honest with you. Intrinsically, I feel like it's my mission to teach whoever wants to listen, whoever's listening to this right now, life skills, and to share what I know about these different topics. And it's honestly an honor to do so. And it's an honor that people actually want to listen to these life topics and these life lessons. All right. Now, is there an extrinsic motivation for me? Well, yeah, it's actually that deadline that I put right there. I know that I have to make 2 videos a week, or in this series that we're going through right now, because there's people waiting for it. And honestly, I love that, because if I didn't have that extrinsic deadline, then I probably wouldn't be as motivated. All right. So as you can see, even me, I'm motivated by both, but going forward, I want all of you to be motivated by intrinsic motivations. All right. What are some habits of motivated people? I've done a lot of research on this, and I just want to share with you what I've learned. Number one, the most motivated people, 5 habits, they have a strong why. Okay, so think about you. What keeps you going? And ultimately, who does what you do affect, right? So I always think about that. And if those answers are pretty wholesome, and or you have a strong why, then you're going to keep going. So will I continue this podcast? Yes. Why? Because ultimately, this is like my life dream, to be able to share not just with my students these life lessons, but once again with anyone who wants to listen. Number 2, the most motivated people have a strong mentality. Look at that. The word impossible, if you put a little apostrophe in a space, it becomes I'm possible. So whenever you think something's impossible, if you change up how you look at that word, it actually says I'm possible. It's pretty interesting. And in general, like what's possible in life, right? So it's, like for me, like sometimes like who you work with and who you are surrounded with, there's not enough inspiration there. So that's why, like with the beauty of the internet and just you being able to learn from anyone out there, you have to understand that what's possible may not be right in front of you. And you have to go out and you have to do some research, and you have to figure out, wow, here's all these great things that other people are doing, and maybe I can follow suit. All right. So their mentality is very strong. They're very open to growth, etc. Number 3, their values. At the end of the day, what's the purpose of your life? And that's the question we're going to answer in my next video. What do you stand for and what matters to you? The most motivated people aren't just motivated by, once again, extrinsic things. They're motivated by intrinsic values and intrinsic motivations to actually live out what they believe. All right. So keep that in mind. Number 4, goals. If there's a goal, then you'll work. There's no, like, I love this quote. There's no great people, but there's only a great plan. So the greatest people that we read about in history books and in, like all these different articles, they are just people with great plans. And they don't just have long-term plans, they have also short-term plans. My whole next video is on goals. So if you're interested in that, I have a lot to say on that. And then finally, number 5, influence. Who's around you? Are they motivating you? And are they being motivated? So at the end of the day, motivated people, they watch very closely what influences them and who influences them. Think about who you're subscribed to and all these people who you follow, right? At the end of the day, they are influencing you whether or not you like it or not. So be very careful on that, because it can really hurt your motivation if it's done wrong. Number 4, just real quick, examples of how to motivate people. Ready? Here's a quick list. Number 1, first it starts with you. As a leader, are you motivated? If you're not motivated, how could the people who are following you be motivated? Think about that. Number 2, help them understand the why. Whoever's following you, whoever's participating in whatever club or organization that you're a leader of, instead of you understanding why you should do things, you should really explain to them the why behind why this whole organization exists. Let's say you're doing some amazing work over here on the side and that no one else knows about. Share it. Make a video on it. Share it out and say, hey, take a look at what the work we're doing and how it's affecting people in our community. Oh my goodness, they're going to be so inspired to keep going. Right? So explain to them the why. Number 3, be in their life. So many times leaders are so hard to get a hold of because they're the leader and you're not. And they don't have time for you. But the greatest leaders, in terms of motivating people, they know how to be in people's lives. How are you showing them that they matter? And then number 4, what's in it for them? At the end of the day, everyone's selfish. And when you recognize someone, that means a lot, because it just shows that, wow, I value you. Here's a great quote right here. If you reward something, so let's say you're a leader and you reward something of the people that are following you, then you're going to get more of the behavior you want. As a teacher, whenever I see something happen in the classroom that's amazing, I validate it, I affirm it. I talk to that student after class and say, that was awesome. Or sometimes I do it publicly in front of the class. And when I do that, I always see that other students want to do the same as well. But if you punish something, you'll get less of the behavior you want. So at the end of the day, if you are punishing something, then you're not going to get that. So as a leader, if you want to motivate your people, reward them, recognize them. Number 4. Number 5, are you living a life that's worth following? Dang, that's deep. I can do a whole video on this one. But let me finish it off here. Are you living a life that's worth following? If not, then really think about what you're doing and maybe even change it up, because it's never too late for that. But are you living a life that's worth following? Because that's the greatest way to motivate someone. If someone looks at your life and says, wow, I want to do that too, then I'm going to follow this person, etc. All right. So keep that in mind. And I'm so grateful once again, everybody, to be able to talk to you about these topics. But our next video is going to be, what's your plan in life? And we're going to really focus on you. How can you get more motivation in life? All right. See you next time.